Ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally arrived. RuneScape 3 Leagues is officially here. If you're a fan of RuneScape or you've heard of it before and you're not too sure what Leagues is, let me break it down for you. Leagues is like the crack cocaine to every RuneScape player. They throw a bunch of tasks in the game that aren't typically there, ranging from 10 points all the way up to 200. By completing enough of those tasks, you may get yourself that sweet dopamine hit that you've been chasing, plus a large variety of relics that provide insane features to the game and huge XP increases. Now, I don't know how far I'll get. All I know is I want to get all of the relics that the game has to offer and see how far we can push the maximum amount of points. So without further ado, let's get it going. Starting off, we get to choose between one of three relics. They are Excavator, Animal Wrangler, and Divine Woodcutter. Animal Wrangler will grant us a harpoon that will automatically bank and cook any fish that we catch. Divine Woodcutter will do the same, but with logs, it will automatically chop, burn, or bank any wood that I cut. And Excavator is going to be, once again, the exact same thing, but with ores, it will automatically smelt and bank them for us. Now, I can pretty much get Animal Wrangler and Divine Woodcutter through archaeology later on in the game, so I'm locking in Excavator for our first relic. And while I do this crazy sick animation, out the gate we start off with a 4x XP increase. I think we have unlimited run energy, we get 20% hit chance on every mob straight away, so we are pretty OP out the gate. First off, as you always do, you go over here and absolutely slap a goblin for our first 10 points. Thirsting for another battle, I absolutely fiended over to the Lumbridge Swamp and slapped up another giant rat for another 10 points. I went for a lovely stroll over to the rocks, and here you're going to see that I just started milking points with our relic. You can see in the chat box that I'm getting tasks done for mining, smelting, and they're just flowing through. I pretty much instantly got total level 50, which is an easy 10 points, and a few more ticks of the pick, and we're going to get another 20 points. 10 points for mining 10 copper ore, 10 points for smelting at 10 bronze bars. Also another 10 points for mining any ore 5 times, reaching level 10 in any skill. And this is just a little bit of a showcase on how powerful these relics are. You know, typically I'd have to walk over to the furnace and go and smelt these bars, but it's all done automatically. Massive time save. I then jumped over to the tin rocks and pretty much will do the same thing. Mine a tin ore, teleport through time, and mine 10 ore instantly. And that's pretty much going to pop us level 20 mining very quickly in a span of, not very long at all. I'm then going to jump over to the clay rocks. Another easy 10 points for mining clay. Another 10 points for mining some iron in the swamp. I then stuck around here a little while longer, got our first 30 point task of the league to reach level 30 in any skill, which of course is going to be mining. I then cooked up Remy from Ratatouille for an easy 20 points.
Oh my god, do you have rabies?
Then decided to do a quick little power fish for another easy 20 points, one for catching a shrimp, and then also catching some shrimp in the fishing spot to the east of Lumbridge. I then went and checked in with the boy Hans and asked him how old I am, because I've got absolutely no idea. Turns out I'm old as fuck, 10 points. Then went and milked this cow absolutely dry for another 10 points. Thank you very much, Betty.
What did he say?
I then went and showed this tree who's boss for another 10 points. Showed another couple of trees who's boss as well for another easy 10 points. Surprise, surprise, I'm still here chopping more trees, another 10 points. They are just flowing in. And like a drive-by in Roblox, I went and lit that bitch up, 10 points. I activated Thick Skin and praised the Lord real hard for an easy 10 points. Stole a couple of dollars out of this guy's pocket for another 10 points. I then prayed way too hard and ran out of prayer points. This guy was absolutely clueless, so I finessed him another 5 times. Thank you very much, 10 points. What do you know, he's still clueless. Pickpocketed him 10 times for an easy 10 points. Now, I low-key wish shops worked like this in real life. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to claim a free item from the store. Thank you very much for your bronze dagger, sir. I'm then going to sell it straight back to you for a profit, you absolute fool. That's another 10 points. Thank you very much. Went and listened to some Travis Scott for a little bit for an easy 10 points. Decided to burn a few more logs for another 10 points. And in my haste earlier, I forgot to actually look at what I was mining, so I did a little prospect for a 10 pointer. Caught a few more king prawns for another 10 points. And with the power of editing, immediately caught another 5 for another 10 points. And like the stereotypical Australian I am, I burnt one of these shrimp on the barbie, mate. And then I reached total level 100 for an easy 20 points. I got better at cooking and cooked another 5 shrimp for another 10 points. Teleported through time and space again and cooked another 5 instantly for another 10 points. I then gamed real hard and had to click on tick for 60 seconds on this rock for another 10 points. I then realized selling this guy's own knife back to him earlier in the day did not actually grant me 10 points for selling any item to a store. I then smithed the bronze helm for an easy 10 points. I then went and got a few 5-finger discounts and absolutely ruined this farmer's life. I then stared him in the eyes and ate his produce in front of him for an easy 10 points. And if you thought he was mad then, I also ate another one for another 10 points. I wanted to wrap my hands around a shaft, so I fletched these shafts for 10 points. After getting my hands off my shaft, I absolutely beat this meat for 10 points.
Okay.
Increased the size of my right forearm by getting my combat to level 5 for another 10 points. And then I laid that to rest. Another 10 points for burying some bones. After draining the farmer's market dry, I decided to go directly to the source and steal some wheat from a wheat field for 10 points. Then I used his own wheat and factory to make some flour, 10 points. Then I wanted to get my hands on a bit of weed. At this point in time, we're only 100 points away, which is 10 10-point tasks. So I tried to make that deficit down to 90 by teleporting back to the Lumbridge homestone. Got back to chopping some trees, chopped an oak tree for 10 points, killed an arachnid for another 10 points. If you don't know what divination is, if you're an old school player, good, it's a shocking skill, but I went over in here and harvested some memories from a wisp for another 10 points, and then I had to do 5, so I did that for another 10 points. I then decided to convert some of those energies into memories, and that's another 10 points. I then transcended the laws of physics and ascended through a whole building for another 10 points. I got back to doing this useless skill for another 10 points. And for my final task, before already getting to tier 2 and getting a new relic, I put my weed in the bin. I gave up drugs. So here we have tier 2 relics. We have another 3 options to choose from. We have golden footed. Golden footed would pretty much give us unlimited agility XP and money from running courses if we needed that. We could also go back to stealing from the farmer but never be able to fail with 5-finger discount. And then we have farming frenzy, which makes all our produce grow instantly and instantly notes it. You also have a chance to save seeds, and herb seeds are planted at the maximum amount with only the base amount of seeds used, so you get a lot of bang for your buck with this relic. After reviewing, I decided I'm going to take Farming Frenzy, because farming is absolutely shocking in this game, so... I did one of my most hated things ever and quested for an easy 10 points. I then used the lamp I got from that quest to upgrade my magic, and that gave me combat level 10. I then smelted a nice steel bar for an easy 10 points. Feeling like a Frenchman for dinner, I went and slayed some frogs in the swamp for an easy 10 points and a completed slayer task. I then went back to smithing to get 10 items smithed for 10 points. I then got insta-killed by Charlie Kirk, which let me finish the necromancy quest for 10 points. I conjured a skeleton at the ritual site for an easy 10. Then very ironically, I went and killed a mugger because who in their right mind would steal from anyone. I then went and tried my luck to finesse a 200 point task, but the game told me I need a level 90. And then about 10 minutes later, while I was doing other things, our first 200 point task popped. I make some early use of the farming relic to get a few early farming levels. You can see I planted some potato seeds here and they grow literally instantly, harvest them and go again. Now there wasn't really any other tasks for me to do here, but the farming XP was so good to turn away, so I got 20 farming pretty quickly in literally less than 3 minutes just by flipping potatoes. I then stole 5 flax from this guy's field for an easy 10 points. I then turned that flax that I stole into some bowstrings for another 10. I did a lap of the Burthorpe agility course for an easy 10 points. I saw this handsome old man alone in the park, so I decided I would go and sit on his lap, and what do you know?
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Had a huge boogie at the club by myself for an easy 10 points. Walking home at 3 AM, had a potato. And I know I said I quit at the last chapter, but you know, I'm back playing with my weed again, so cleaning some herbs here. Dabbled in making some potions, got an easy 10 points for making a attack potion. Did some more smithing off camera and made a full set of iron armor. It's embarrassing how long this task took me to figure out, but I surged the distance of 1 tile for 10 points. Went back to farming and got a 10-point task for planting 10 seeds. I went in and sheared some random farmer's sheep and turned those into balls of wool for an easy 10 points. And then I found this random bloke in Draenor who decided he would make me some rope from that. And gangbanged this demon in the top of the wizard towers for another 30-point task. I then went and sat in Runespan for a little bit, which if you're not aware is Runescape's rune crafting minigame. We don't have a cool one like old school, but this one does the trick. And I spoke to this yellow wizard and he gave me 30 points in exchange for some runes. Channeled my inner Steve Irwin and went and got Cheeto to catch a whirligig for 10 points. Now somehow the fact that this mining relic could mine gemstones flew directly over my head. Once I found that out, I popped straight over to El Kharid, started mining these rocks to get an exorbitant amount of crafting XP, as you can see here. And I kid you not, in less than 2 minutes, I go from 1 crafting to 30 crafting just by punching some stones. Slapped up Voldemort's cousin.
Avada Kedavra.
Went and mined some iron in Varrock for another 10 points. Gave this dog a bone for an easy 10 points. Permanently borrowed this guy's tea. Decided I would learn the ways of archaeology. Did the tutorial for another 10 points. Did a massive AFK session at this wall, which got me to 21 archaeology and another 30 points. We're only 110 away. Whilst AFK smithing, popped total level 500 for another 30 points. Upgraded our iron armor to a full set of steel for another 30. And to finish this tier off, I went down into the Draenor sewers, mined a mithril plate body for our first 80-point task of the league. That also gave us our first cosmetic trophy of the league that will transfer back into the main game, and we now can choose from our tier 3 relic. The tier 3 options we have are primarily teleporting options, so we have to choose from Fairy's Flight, which is essentially a portable fairy ring. We then have Assassin's Insight, which gives you a Skull of Slain that lets you teleport to most Slayer monsters and masters. And then we have Void Walker, which is essentially an item that will give you pretty much access to all the teleporting jewelry in the game in one item. I hate crafting jewelry and the durability that they have, so I decided that this was going to be a good option for me. I actually didn't know if the teleport options were going to be any good, but as I said when I was 11 years old, YOLO. Now the gap between this tier and the next tier is much bigger than the first two we have. You know, for reference, the other two were about 800 to 900 points. Now we've got to hit 3k. So there's going to be a bunch of tasks that I don't showcase, but still a lot that I do. So we start off with a 30-point task for chopping some willows. I went and showed Granny my beans.
But what the hell, boy?
I slapped this hero on the bum, as I don't have the pickpocketing level, but it still gave me 80 points. I chopped another willow down in Lumbridge for another 30 points. Went back to Runespan and played with a couple of dogs for another 30 points. I then quickly pumped out the beginner diaries for Lumbridge for another 30 points. If you're new to RuneScape or you're an old school player and you have absolutely no idea what you're looking at, this is one of our mini games that you can play on every hour, up to 2 times a day, called Cash. It is the most boring minigame in the world, but it's insane for divination XP. You pretty much have to pick up these jars on the back wall and drop them in the middle while trying to dodge these automations that are walking around. At any point in time, you can actually turn into one of these automations and go and knock the other ones down so that people have a clearer run into the portal in the middle. After 10 minutes, you got to get as many points as you can and it'll kick you out and give you a fat XP drop. So from here, I go from level 1 to 27. I pickpocketed a cult member for 30 points. I went and mined some nechrite ore for an easy 80 points. I baked some bread for another 10 points. The cool thing about this league is they automatically unlocked Prif for you, so I popped over here and activated the lodestone for 10 points. I then went back to my favourite skill in the world and converted some more energies for another 30 points. Caught a boat back to the Ice Age for another 30 points. Harvesting more energies for another 30 points. Played another game of cash for the day with another fat XP drop, which took me all the way up to 43 div. Caught 200 fish for 30 points. And then burnt 25 willow logs for 30 points. Chopped some more willows for another 30 points. And then smithed 50 of any item for another 80 points. Caught 10 pike for 30 points. And in the name of John West, I caught 50 salmon for another 30 points. I smithed a rune pickaxe and went and mined some ore in the wilderness for another 30 points. I paid to go into this dungeon just to leave instantly for 10 points. Picked a pineapple on Karamja for 10 points. Straight back to fishing, caught 25 lobsters for another 30 points. I activated the Canopus lodestone for 10 points. I butched up a werewolf for 10 points. I then decided to do some desert tasks, so I caught a magic carpet for 10 points. I went evil Steve Irwin on this crocodile and killed one for 10 points. Killed a slayer monster in the Canopus Slayer Tower for 10 points. Roleplayed as Gordon Ramsay, entered the Cook's Guild for 30 points. Used the power of corporate AFK to mine 60 phasmatite for 80 points. Went back to my favourite skill for another 30 points. And only 60 points away, I decided I would go do the simplest task in the world and go do the Stronghold of Security, only to find out that that's not a task. But in fact, the task was to actually complete the Stronghold of Player Safety. I've literally never heard of this place in my life, didn't even know it existed, but turns out it was to do this instead of the Stronghold of Security. So I finished that off for 30 points. And to get to tier 4, we mined some Dracolith in the jungle for 30 points. The 3 relics we have to choose from in tier 4 are Production Master. Production Master pretty much allows you to do any production task instantly, so clean all herbs instantly, fletch all items in your inventory instantly, things like that. Clue Connoisseur gives us the Globetrotter's outfit, which, if you're not sure what that is, which pretty much allows you to teleport directly to any clue and finish it instantly. This is the one that we'll be going for, and I didn't show it, but the other relic was just to choose a previous relic from any of the first 3 tiers, so I decided to go with clues.